It's about to get crazy. It's about to go down. It's about to get crazy. It's gonna be loud. This is our house. We do what we wanna. We'll blow the roof out. Everybody's coming. It's about to get crazy. It's about to go down. It's about to go down.
All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I just got back from a backpack hunt for elk at about 8,000 feet, 9,000 feet. We spent most of our time at high elevation. And I got a bunch of, I had my gear all loaded up. And today on this podcast, I'm going to cover what I brought with me and why. And before I start, basically, I just want to say there's lots of ways to do this. This is just my setup. This is just how I did it. Everybody has their preferences. So hopefully, though, this is helpful to anyone that's listening. Maybe I've figured something out that you don't. And if you got ideas or preferences, write in, let me know. I'm always open for new ideas. So basically, I'm going to start with the backpack here. I've got these kind of other items, and I recommend folks, you go and watch this podcast. Check it out on YouTube. You can go to briancall.com and click on the podcast link and find the video there, or just go straight to our YouTube channel and you can find the video there. And basically what we're going to do is if you watch it, you can actually see the gear that I've got going on here. Okay, so here's the backpack. I've got a Kifaru Reckoning here. Put it up here on the table. This is the pack that I took. It's not Kifaru's lightest pack, but I used it pretty much all last year. I love this pack for a couple of different reasons. One of them is this center zip, where I can access just everything without going through just the top load. Top load pack is a little frustrating because you can't. Once you've loaded it and you need to get to something, it's really inconvenient. So, anyway, this was the pack I took. I'll get the weight on it right now for you. This is with everything in it with about 3 days of food. So I'm going to set it on the floor here, and pull a weight. So I basically was carrying, it's 33 pounds is what it is, 33 pounds. And this does not include water, but pretty much includes everything else that I took with me. So 33 pounds in just the pack. Okay. And then I'll tell you what's I'll unload the pack in a minute. Not inside the pack is my bino harness. So I have this, Sitka bino harness. I sweat a lot when I'm hiking and backpacking, and I like the feel of this mesh across my back. It breathes really well. The chest harness isn't very big. It breathes well. I don't care for the zipper system on this. It's kind of annoying, but I do like the comfort. It does wear well. And I got these Leupold BX5s 10 power in here. Leupold's new bino. And I like that setup. It's not a big bino. And then inside the bino harness, I have a few things. I've got a compass in there. I got some matches, fireproof matches, and some fire starter trioxane tablets. And then I've got a little lens pen for cleaning the lens and on the bino and whatever, my camera. I got some blades in there, some knife blades for if I get something, I can skin it. And then in here, I also have a little tiny Leatherman squirt that has just a little knife and scissors and whatever. It's tiny. It doesn't weigh much. That's also in the bino harness. And then on the exterior pockets on the right-hand side, I have this wind checker. And I'm constantly just pulling that out, checking the wind, putting it right back inside the bino harness in this little pocket here. And on the left-hand side, I've got this Knock To It release. Some guys like to strap this to their wrist. I don't really care for that. I like to actually hook it on the D-loop on my bow. I'll show you here. Like, I like to have it if I need to. And like when I was calling some bulls in, I just clipped it on there and it was already on the string. If it's strapped to my arm, I can't do that. And then I could call and stuff and have the bow loaded with an arrow and everything and have the thing just sitting there waiting so I could just grab it and go to full draw. And I'm also not trying to clip onto the string in the heat of the moment. And it just saves me that much more time. So I prefer not to have it on my wrist. And there is the potential of losing it, but I'm not too concerned about that. I have a spare release always in my setup, so I'll get to the bow setup a little bit later. But there's where I keep the release, and that's it for the bino rig here. And I'll weigh that in just a second here. Put the binos back in. So this little rig here weighs looks like 3 pounds. Yeah, 3 pounds, roughly something like that. So that's the bino harness, and then I got my Leupold rangefinder in there, and I like to attach that to the buckle here on the side. And that way it's just right there connected to my harness. And it's really easy for me to just reach in, grab it, take a range, and slip it back in. A lot of times I use a tether on that, so I can just, if I need to, I can just kind of drop it and let it swing. So there's the bino harness. The rangefinder's pretty sweet. I've used a bunch of rangefinders. That Leupold works great in. It's probably the best I've had for reliability. Using it in areas like New Zealand with extreme fog or rain in the cold, it's performed well. And I've been around a lot of other rangefinders, and they have not performed as well in those situations. Keep talking about what's out here. I've got the socks. I really love these Gore socks. It's a sock they don't make anymore, but it's got a certain type of fiber in it, as John Barklow described to me. Wicks moisture away from your feet really well. I get really sweaty feet, so I like long socks as well because I like to pull them up to my knee, and so it's like wearing long johns, at least from the knees down. But I don't have to take my pants off to cool down. I can just slide the socks down to my ankles and I'm good to go. So in the morning when it's really cold, I typically pull these socks up for a little extra warmth. And then I always wear a sock liner, have since like 2003. And I bought these in 2007. They're kind of spent, but these are Smartwool like sock liner. But I am a firm believer in a sock liner. I don't ever really have to tape my feet up. I never need to use Leuko tape. So I wear these sock liners, and I never get blisters, and that's how I like to do it. And then right here I got Crispy Nevada boots, and I've talked about those. There's a podcast or two. There's some videos on that. I put 2,000 miles on those boots. In the last couple of years, these are a new set, and they're just, to me, just an exceptional all-around boot. They provide all the ankle support I need. They're waterproof. They have never leaked. They're comfortable out of the box. They're durable. Some people like a little stiffer boot, and if that's the case, I'm gonna try the Brickstall next, the Crispy Brickstall. From what I heard from the guys in the office and from people I've talked to, it's a next level stiffness. And I think for some of the areas where I've hunted where it's extremely steep, like New Zealand, the Southern Alps, or this hunt I just got back from, I think a stiffer boot would probably be a little better for those just steep slopes. That said, I still manage with these boots great, just the way they are. So, one thing about it, if you're in low terrain and then high terrain, I mean, it sucks to hike 3 to 5 miles wearing a stiff boot on flat ground. So you really want, I think you really want to get the boot that matches the area you're hunting. And so then clothes that I wore up on the mountain, these are the Sitka Ascent pant. And I liked the Apex pant. It was a quieter pant for spot and stock mule deer, which I just did in Montana. That Sitka Apex pant. So these are the Sitka Ascent pant. They breathe a little better than the Apex. I liked the Apex pant for spot and stock mule deer in Montana. They were quieter. They don't make any noise. When they rub together, they don't do this kind of thing where they make a little bit of noise. That said, man, I am a sweater. And when I am hiking, I especially sweat from the waist down. Like I get a lot of back sweat and it just rolls down my back, and I need lots of airflow in the manly regions in the posterior area. And so I like the Ascent pant because it just breathes so well. And so for a mountain hunt like that, I much prefer that over the Apex. But like I said, when I'm in close and I'm hunting mule deer and I'm sneaking up on them, these pants are just a little too loud as they brush grass and things like that in a still and quiet area. With elk, it's not quite as important. I get away with more noise. And I actually wore the knee pads and used them. Been using the knee pads a lot lately, and I at first I struggled. I didn't really care for knee pads, but man, now that I've worn them and used them more, I actually prefer them. So that's the Apex pant, and then, or the Ascent pant. And then I got this is the Sitka Apex, hoodie. And I like the weight of this. It's just kind of just right. It got a little bit hot on some of those, afternoons, but morning and evenings, it was just right for those mountains I was in. And then I've just got a Sitka t-shirt here, like a synthetic, shirt that wicks moisture away. It's just a short sleeve, and I wear that under the base. And then as a wind blocker, I have this mountain vest. It's lightweight, thin, but it blocks the wind, and it's really all I need. So combining this, Ascent, or this, mountain vest with the Apex hoodie, was pretty much mostly what I alternated. And then when I got real sweaty, I would just wear the t-shirt. And then if I was sweating a lot, but the wind was just ripping through and it was chilling my core a little bit, then I would wear the vest. So my arms were completely bare, and it blocked the wind, but breathed real well. It was kind of the right combo. I'm a vest guy. I think it just regulate heat best that way. So that was my everyday kind of wear. And then when it was cold, I would use out of the top. This is the guide lid on the, on this Kifaru pack. And I always store my puffy jacket. And this is a Kelvin Light hoodie. And so this is my puffy layer that I would wear if things got cold, or it was cold in the morning or the evening. It's super lightweight. It's got a hood on it, super warm. And I always carry it in this top pocket in the guide lid, because I'm always pulling it out and putting it back in, pulling it out and putting it back in. So if we're stopping for any length of time at 9,000 feet and the wind is blowing and we just got done sweating, it's easy to get a cold sweat real quick. And I want to keep my body warm. I don't mind cooling off for a little bit, but then my temp can drop pretty quickly. And that's where I'll just pull this jacket out and put it on. It'll even dry out my clothes as the wind, it breathes well, but keeps in warmth. So my clothes will dry out real quick, the wet ones I'm wearing, the sweaty ones I'm wearing. And then I'll take it off and throw it back in, and I kind of take it in and out all the time. So that's in the guide lid. I always keep that there. The other thing is hats and gloves. and those are packed in the pack right now. I'll pull those out a little bit later, but and show you what I like for hat and gloves on a trip like this. So I think that covers all the stuff that's out of the pack that I would wear and kind of bring on my body, on my person. And so camera-wise, on this last trip, I took this Sony a6300. If I were to buy a new one, I think I'd do the 65. It's got a touchscreen and a couple other things, but otherwise it's pretty much the same camera. The 63 is a great video camera, and it's also an excellent photo camera. So it's kind of the combination of both. I have this little Rode mic on the top that doesn't require external power, so it just plugs into the mic port on the side here, and it just runs with this dead cat on top muffler. It's a little tiny mic, and I just like this simple, easy, light setup. And then I have a Zeiss Batis lens, which is a 2.8 millimeter, and it's a wide angle 18 millimeter fixed lens, and it allows me to basically film excellent video and photo handheld. So I don't really need, it's such a wide angle, I don't need to worry too much about stabilization like I would do with another setup, a longer lens. And this 18 millimeter Batis is, the Zeiss lens is super lightweight, but it's just beautiful. The images you get from it, and it's very, very, like I said, with the image stabilization, it's really easy to use, but it doesn't fisheye. Some of those wide angles get a little fisheye look to them. So this little camera right here is kind of ready to go, and it sits on I just strap it to my backpack strap. So I'm ready to film at any moment or take a photo. And I use the Peak Design, attachment to hold it. So this whole thing right here, this camera itself, I'll weigh it. I mean, it weighs very, very little. Let's see here. So according to the scale, it's less than 2 pounds for this. So 1 3/4 pound or something like that. So when I put the pack on like this, and I'll strap it up here. Okay. When I have the pack on, bino harness is here on the chest usually. And then right here, this thing just attaches just like this. And so it's just right there, ready to turn on and use. And I just push this button right here, and it's locked. Push this button, slides right off, and it slides back on. And so I can take photos, video, like I said, handheld really easily. I can kind of vlog with it, talk to the camera. The audio is really good, and I don't have to remember to flip a mic on, like on another setup that requires a separate battery. It's just kind of fail-proof, all of it, all around. And then that 2.8 takes great photos. The only thing that I missed that I wish I had on this trip was a filter, an ND filter to screw on the lens, just to give it, just so I could run it at a wider aperture. And the ND filter, I'd probably use a 3-stop and a 6-stop. That way, in the bright afternoon, if I wanted to have a little more cinematic look with a deeper bokeh, a little more blur in the background, a little sharper focus on the subject, I could run, the lens at 2.8 with a 6-stop ND filter on there and get the look I want. So need to get one for this lens, but otherwise, for photography, it doesn't really matter, because I can run the shutter speed so much faster and just kind of compensate for that wide open lens. But it was great. I mean, it's the lightest camera setup I've taken with me. The only downside to it is I'm not really able to film distance well. That's the only problem, is getting shots at an elk, let's say, 40 or 60 yards out, you can see them, but they're just, you're not going to be able to zoom with it. And, that's a choice I made because I was the cameraman and the hunter. So it was more of a vlog style hunt. Photos were beautiful. The camaraderie and companionship and the hiking and the B-roll and all that stuff's beautiful. The wide angle shots are beautiful, but the live animal video is just okay. I mean, it's sharp, but they're small. Because they're so far back in the, and they're so small in the wide angle shots. So I do have a 24 to 240 millimeter lens, and I'll show you that real quick. So it is frustrating to have, an animal, or let's say a cougar or a wolf or something, a big elk that you are seeing at 300 yards away or 100 yards, and you don't have a camera that can capture that moment. So, that's where, next time I'm bringing this, and this is a Sony, 24 to 240 millimeter lens. So it has some reach, and with the crop factor, it's even more. With Sony Clear Image Zoom, I'm able to get out to 500, 600 millimeters worth of focus or telephoto. And it's not that heavy. I mean, it is, but it's not. I mean, and it bounced right onto that A6300. And then if I'm in that moment where I want to film long distance, I can slap that baby on this lens and I can reach out really far. And with Sony's ISO, it's pretty good image because it's not the fastest lens. So that's the camera setup. And I did not bring that lens because I was really conscious about weight. And I'm okay with that. But if I did want to bring it, which I probably will this next time, I'll use that other lens. I'll bring that other lens to swap, and that'll be my setup. Okay, backpack. I'll just take it off and break it down. Like I said, I think what I say it was like 33 pounds. With 2.5 or 3 days of food. And I'm going to take these poles off because they're scratching my desk. But what I've got here for trekking poles, I've just brought trekking poles because they're worth the weight to me. When you're going up some steep stuff or coming down, and especially when you have an animal that you've taken, when you're carrying heavy loads, it's just hard to beat. It's hard to beat having trekking poles. So this is, these are, old ones, Black Diamond. I've had them for a long time. I don't like the leather straps. I cut them off. I get rid of them every time. The wrist straps. And then, usually I have some duct tape wrapped around the pole here. Right now I have some Luco tape on there just in case I get blisters or whatever. They're on the bow. I also have some in my pack that stay dry, more dry. But yep, I pack the poles. Those are included in the weight on the pack here. I carry this SE knife. This one is the SECR 2.5. You can see it's just a tiny little knife, but it's super stout. I mean, it's got thick blade here. Sharpens super easy. I can cape an animal. Like it skins really well. It's just a little tiny useful knife. It's in this little leather sheath that I can access super easy. Knife just stays in. I really like that knife. It's a fixed blade. it's not folding. But handy little deal. And here I have some calls. So I have my, I have this little Phelps, estrus call. And then here I have a little, coin pouch. And in this coin pouch, I have a bunch of diaphragms. So I have this one from Elk 101 that Corey Jacobson, gave me this year. I really like that one. Bugling Bull. Here's, Phelps amp design. And I really like this gray one. I use it really well. Phelps amp there. And so I'm kind of going between Elk 101 and Corey Jacobson and what Phelps has. I like both. I use them both well. like I said, I really like this gray one from Phelps, and it's held up really well, with lots of heavy use. It still continues to, it hasn't blown out, which kind of surprised me. So that's my calls. I can just pull them out real quick. Don't even touch them. Sometimes just bite them right out of the coin pouch. And then over here in this pocket here, I usually run some snacks. And on the hip belt, I have a Nalgene type bottle. This one's a Mountain Ops one. And that goes in the Kifaru pouch here. I like that. I really like having a bottle. And I'll explain that in a minute. Going into the top, again, the guide lid, I always run the Kelvin Light jacket in there. Like I said, it's kind of my top pocket. But I also have baby wipes, enough for extra problems. And then I have the Garmin InReach. I really want to get the Mini. I think that for especially what I'm doing, where the Mini is all I need. It'll save me some weight. I don't need the bigger one here, but nevertheless, this is what I have. So Garmin InReach, which allows me to text my family any time of day from anywhere using my phone that connects, or I can text directly through this if my phone is dead. It's nice. It's peace of mind. And then right here I have like the toiletry kit, which has a toothbrush, toothpaste. I have a little pair of tweezers, and that's really from experience of getting when I'm hunting cactus country and I get thorns. It's so nice to have a pair of tweezers. It's like heavenly. I always bring fingernail clippers, just a little tiny pair. I've got some Burt's Beeswax for the lips if I have to. I try not to use much on that. I got some tooth floss, and then I have Aquaphor in one of these little REI containers that I use to lube the crack so I don't get chafed and bloody, which I can from heavy hiking. And then I got a little bit of a steroid cream that I use if I get like poison oak, poison ivy, or just some kind of rash or something doesn't go right. That steroid cream is a lifesaver. It's prescription, so I don't know if you can get it for yourself, but I think it's indispensable. So that's that little kit. And so the toilet, the wipes and the butt cream and all the other stuff is always in this top pouch. I get in and out of it throughout the day. I like to floss after I pound some jerky, stuff like that. It's right there, easy to get. And like I said, the warm jacket is always in the top lid as well. That's how I do it. Then before I unpack everything, I'm going to show you one of the reasons I like the Reckoning here. Like I said, it's just the ease of use is nice. So, first of all, it's got independent straps in the middle here, and it's just so handy. So I can cinch this thing down when it's full, but then I can just throw my bow on the back here like this, and I don't need any kind of extra straps or anything else. These straps that are independent, that are already here on the bow, on the backpack, they just buckle across like this, and I have a bow that's held in place right on the back of the pack. It's great for archery hunting, even rifle. You can, if you wanted to with a rifle, you can unzip this bottom pouch here, right here at the bottom, and you can slip the butt of the rifle in there. And so, like I said, it's just like, boom, there you go. You've got your bow strapped on, and then, to take it off, you just unstrap these buckles and it's off. And so I really dig that. The other reason I like this is, it just takes a second to take my bow on and off, but I can undo this center zip right here, like I said, and I can pretty much get to, you can take a look at this, pretty much get to everything that's inside my pack without having to undo everything, and then I can zip it right back up after I've pulled something out. And I can't tell you like how many times I load my pack, oh no, I forgot this, or I need a new battery for my camera or whatever. And I just pull out the Kifaru pouch that has it, and then I stuff it right back in, and I can just do that center zip up without pulling everything out of my pack, which is a pain in the rear. Okay, so starting with this pocket here at the very bottom, I have my SteriPen, which I use to filter water. Okay, and then I have my headlamp usually in there, and I love this Black Diamond headlamp. I've got a couple of them. I've talked about this on other gear podcasts, but it locks, so I can hold this thing down until it locks the battery, so you can't accidentally turn it on while you're backpacking and then have a dead battery. So, and then it'll switch between green, yellow, and red, or green and red lights, and it'll do bright and dim, and the batteries last forever. It takes like 4 AAAs, I think. It's totally waterproof. This Black Diamond headlamp has been bomb proof. I don't remember what it's called, or which one it is, but there you have it. You can see what it looks like. And then I pack in here. I carry my Sea to Summit spoon with the long handle. I love this thing. It's titanium. It's super legit. And then in the bottom pouch here, easy accessibility, I have my Sitka Flash rain jacket, the pullover, and I just keep it in this Kifaru pouch. But this pullover is pretty much, it's impressive. It doesn't weigh anything for a rain jacket. It's light. There's nothing to it. And when I'm backpacking, I don't want to carry like a full-on heavy-duty rain jacket, especially in September for elk. And this little baby weighs nothing. And I can, if I get real cold and it's windy, I can put that Kelvin Light puffy on top or on, and then I can cover it with this rain jacket, and then it really, I'm super warm. And I can handle some pretty intense conditions with just this little setup. So I've worn this in heavy rains for hours. I've had it where the straps from my backpack are pressing the water through, and it doesn't leak. And I've stayed totally dry with it. So, for a rain jacket, a bomb-proof rain jacket, I dig this thing. So, like I said, I keep that in that pouch in case a rainstorm. So, like I said, I like to put this stuff in the bottom pouch here. I get it in and out quite a bit. I get my spoon out. I get my rain jacket out just for a little bit. I got my headlamp, my SteriPen, kind of all in this little bottom pouch right there. Easy access, quick in and out. So moving on to what's in the bulk of the pack here. I'll go and pull the what I've got here in the side. So in the side I have a tent here. I have I have it on the side there so I can easily pull it out if the rain starts coming or whatever. I don't have to unpack my pack to get to my tent. So on the one side, on the outside sleeve, I have the tent in there so I can just grab it, set it up. This is the Hilleberg Nyack. Aaron turned me on to this tent. Aaron Snyder. I love this thing. It goes up in minutes. It's bomb proof. It's like 4-season. It's just an incredible tent. And as a single man, it's pretty dang nice. This is where I keep the tent, and over here I have the poles on this side of the pack. So I'll pull these poles out. And so the poles, stakes, everything, I'll weigh that for you just so you know this is my entire tent setup, and it's 4 pounds, roughly, right at 4 pounds. This scale is not exactly perfectly accurate, but try that again. Make sure that's right, because I think it's less, but this thing doesn't do like fine-tune measuring. Yeah. It says it's right at 4 pounds with all the stakes and everything. So I love this tent. Like I said, I don't want to share a tent. So like Ben and Chris, they each brought their own tents. Ben used an old Go Light tent of mine, which is like 2 pounds. It's a decent little tent, but it's not as durable. Can't handle the wind and the snow and things like this can. But I do like having all that space in the room. So I carry that tent. And then on the side here, I have bugle tube. So, I carried this, Elk 101 bugle tube with the subalpine here. I got from, Corey Jacobson. I like this tube. It's lightweight. It's small. It sounds good. It's pretty handy. That said, I also run the Phelps bugle tube here. It's a little heavier, a little bigger, a little bulkier. But it definitely sounds growlier. It has more resonance. It just has this sound at the end. If I'm hiking or whatever, or I'm going after what I know are some big bulls, I kind of like this one for just that extra sound that I get. And I don't have a really deep, bugle growly sound out of my own chest, and, so this helps me get that deeper sounding elk sounding sound than I do out of this other one. But when it comes to packing, this is so close and it's so much lighter and smaller and more compact that I actually, if I'm backpacking, I'm taking the Elk 101 bugle right now. That's kind of the setup I'm running. I do like how that Phelps bugle sounds though. So, that's the side pockets. I keep this bugle tube right here in this side and right by my tent stakes, and I can reach back and pull it out, and I can stuff it back in to this sleeve throughout the day. So I don't have to wear it, around my neck or something like that with the string, although I can. I don't need to. Generally, I can just run it in and out of that sleeve. I like that grab and go kind of setup. So, here I am. I'm going to open up the main bag here, and I'll go through it. Right here, I have a couple changes of underwear and another set of these Gore-Tex socks with these Gore socks with a pair of sock liners. I can go about 3 days with those socks, 3 to 4. On day 4, though, they're starting to stop. They start to stop wicking moisture away. They start causing my feet to get hotter, blistery. So after about 3 days, I have to switch socks. So I'll usually, depends on how long my backpack trip is, but if it's short enough, I won't even bring this if we're just going up for like 3 days. But if I am going up for more like 5 days or 6 days, I bring a change of underwear and a change of socks. Right here, I have this Sitka belt. I like this belt from Sitka. It's super lightweight. I don't remember which one this is. You have to look it up. But it's the one that just has a pole and then a hook. And so I can just hook this together and it's ready to, it's around the waist, and I can unhook it when I need to, take my pants off, drop my drawers. That way I don't have to fish it through the hook and thread it and do all this stuff. I mean, once I have it set to my waist, I can just like hook it and unhook it. I like it. And then here I have a merino beanie, and I like to sleep with a beanie. I'm bald. My head gets a little cold. I don't really like to use a mummy top unless it's really cold. So, I like this beanie. And then it filters water really well. So lots of times we had to get water from a pretty dirty or gnarly little spot, and I can just stick this on the top of my water bottle, and it just filters all the dirt out, and I have clean water coming through, and it's merino. It dries super quick. I mean, within an hour, I just loop it on my trekking pole if it's on my pack, or I strap it somewhere on the pack and just let it air dry, and it's dry in a few minutes. So I like the multi-use out of it. It breathes really well, but it's still warm. One of the things that I just cannot stand when I'm elk hunting or hunting in general is to have my ears covered because I can't hear. Like I bring this wind blocker beanie here. That's the other hat that I have because it's small, lightweight, and the wind blocking is important with the wind stopper when I need it. But I'll tell you, like, I almost never wear this hat unless conditions are just ripping with wind and they're really cold. Otherwise, I just wear the merino, usually over my ball cap so it blocks the sun. The bill of the hat can block the sun out of my eyes, but I'll put this on for a little added warmth, and then I can hear right through it. It's porous. It doesn't block the sound. The wind blocker stuff, I cannot hear through this. Like, I'm deaf as a post. And sometimes that's the difference between getting your animal and not. So I don't like to cover my ears. And, but I can wear this, and then if I get really cold, I can flip the hood up on the Apex hoodie or even the Core lightweight hoodie, and I can hear right through that as well, and it adds that little warmth. But like I said, the wind blocker layer just stops. I can't hear. So that's the two hats I bring. And then besides just a regular ball cap, I took a Mountain Ops, just a straight up, everyday ball cap. I Kifaru, or I have a Kifaru cap. I have some Sitka hats, but I just wear whichever company or brand I want to rep on that hunt that I want to promote. I used Mountain Ops this last trip. And they have this hat is not out yet, but it's a new hat. They'll have it out, I don't know, maybe in a few months, but it's got a sweatband built into it. It's more performance oriented. And it's just a super comfortable hat. I like the profile. I like how it fits. So I wore it this last trip and I loved it. Where my typical Richardson, like 112 or something like that, they would get sweaty and they bleach and they didn't handle the moisture like the sweatband material does. So anyway, I like this hat. And then I've got these Sitka, I think they're just mid-weight glove. And I don't really use them. I don't like having my fingers covered. But if conditions get really nasty, then I want to have a glove that can keep my hands a little bit warmer. And so what I typically though use is I use these old, you can see they got holes in them. I can use these old fingerless wool gloves. I know Filson makes some. You can see they're a little threadbare. I just can't give them up, man. I feel like a Portland bum with them on, which is awesome too. Brings me back to my roots. But just a fingerless wool glove, I just like it. It just, yeah, I know those are bad, but I know First Light makes some. I know, I don't think Sitka does. They have some other ones that I'm looking into, but, I just like a fingerless wool glove just to wear kind of all the time. And that's kind of all I need. And my fingers are well, free and they breathe. I like merino. Used to go fly fishing in some of these that I got from Filson. Anyway, these gloves I'll wear, and then if it's really windy and I'm glassing especially, and I got to have my hands out and the wind's just icy cold and whipping, then I'll throw these on right over the top of the fingerless gloves, and I am in business. Totally warm. But once it gets to killing time, I'm going to take the outer glove off, and usually these gloves too. I don't like wearing gloves when I go to shoot my bow, but I can perform fairly well with these, so that's my gloves and my hats. I keep them inside this little, pouch here. Then I have in here this food pouch. Okay. And I'll go over the food in a minute, but I'm going to finish. I'll go over that last, really, kind of what my food deal is. Right here, I have batteries So these are the batteries for the camera, batteries for maybe my headlamp, whatever. I have a little blower in here to clean the lens or the sensor on my camera. If it gets nasty, I have a lens cloth. So that's just sort of my camera. I have a spare memory card, but I pretty much run a 256 gig card on the camera, so I don't have to ever change it the whole trip I'm out there. Plenty of that. And I have the batteries. So that's my battery pouch and setup. Here is my possibles pouch. I'll go over that in a sec. Right here is my kill kit. This is a black Ovis Kendall card. Give me a bunch of these. It's just got the game bags in there, enough to do a boned out elk. It's got some little gloves, rubber gloves, and then it's got, I've got a couple knife blades in there for my Taito knife, which is I'm using, or my Havalon. I have both. And then I have, in here, let's see, I have some plastic bags where I can put the meat inside those garbage bags, those heavy metal plastic bags, so that it doesn't get blood in my pack. So that's my game bag set up there. Here's my pad. It's a Thermarest Neo Air. I've had it for a very, very long time. It's the full body length one, shaped like a mummy though. And that's my air pad. And then I've got a Kifaru 20 degree bag here at the bottom. The slick bag. I love the Kifaru bag. It just, man, the center zip, everything about it, I just love. So, I'll go over the possibles pouch, and then I'll go over the food bag. So in the possibles pouch, I have a little, adventure medical kit. It's just got Band-Aids and basics in there. I've got this Petzl, emergency extra headlamp. Aaron and I have talked about this. It's just this little guy. You can, it just straps your head, a little tiny rubber band. It's just my extra headlamp if I need it. Doesn't weigh much. It's worth having a spare. I've got some 550 cord, I just use this stuff all the time. Like this, I feel like I cannot leave without some extra rope or cord. It's handy for everything. I've got a second compass in here. I've got trioxane tablets. I have Imodium AD in case you get the squirts and things go south, diarrhea. I've got that in there. Trioxane, like I said, for fire starters. I've got some aqua tabs to filter water just in case my stereo pin breaks down on me, batteries die or whatever. I'll just throw in some aqua tablets and then and let it kill all the bacteria before I drink it. And then I've got some tenacious tape right here just for general repairs. I've got some Gore-Tex fabric repair just to repair a Gore-Tex jacket if I get a hole in it. I got my Neo Air patch kit just in case I pop a hole in the air pad. I've got my Taito knife right here for skinning and gutting and all of that and cleaning the animal right there with extra blades. I'm surprised how many times I find uses for zip ties. I have a bunch of those in here. Right here I have Benadryl in case of some kind of allergic reaction, bee sting. I typically don't have any kind of allergy of any kind. But I've been in camp with people who do. I kind of bring it for other people really, who have, you never know when they might be exposed to something and they have some severe reaction. My daughters, a couple of them have severe allergies. I've never had it. I've never had a reaction before, but I have it just in case. And then I have a little Bic lighter, and then around the Bic lighter, I've got some Leuko tape. My other Leuko tape just for blisters and stuff. This stuff's amazing. You put it on where you got a hot spot on your foot or your toes or whatever, and the stuff stays on for like weeks and keeps you from getting those blisters. Way better than moleskin or anything else. It's a game changer. I pretty much never use it. Like Aaron jokes about me having just Aboriginal feet. I have tough feet. I don't really have any problems with that stuff, but nevertheless, I have it just in case. We ended up using a lot of it for Ben this year. And then I have a waterproof match case, stormproof matches here inside. And then it's got a little striker on the outside. I got an extra striker inside just in case something, for some reason, they won't light. So I got redundant fire options, multiple lighters, another lighter in the pack here somewhere. But that's kind of the possibles for me, what I find important to bring along. Certainly you could bring a lot more, but it's kind of how I roll. So that's the possibles pouch, kind of all the miscellaneous extras. Then here in the food bag, before I get there, I do have a couple extra arrows inside the pack right here. These are Black Eagle X Impact Valkyrie built arrows that are phenomenal. I have them slid down here in the side of the pack. I don't know. I just like having extra arrows. I carry 7 in my quiver, which I'll get to in a minute, which is basically I have a 7-arrow quiver from that I really like from Tight Spot. And then I run these, I have a couple extra arrow shafts, like I said, inside my pack right here next to my, all my gear. Just in case, I run out of 7 arrows, I got 2 left. And then, inside the pouch in here, I do have some miscellaneous things. I have a couple extra buckles for my backpack. I have my tags that I keep here. And then I have a couple extra broadheads in this little pouch. And then I have Allen keys for my bow. I made a critical mistake on this last trip where I was missing an Allen key that I needed. So I got to get that kit completed. There's an Allen key a bigger Allen key that I need to keep this stabilizer in place. I'll get over that in a minute. And I was missing that, and it really, really torqued me off. So I have a little Jagwax in here for the broadheads, the Valkyrie broadheads, and then I have this Valkyrie sharpener. So I can take my broadhead, run it up on there, sharpen it real quick, and then I can throw a little wax on there. And I love this Jagwax from Valkyrie. Keep my broadhead sharp and dry and clean and not rusty, and lubes it for shooting an animal. It's great. And then so that's in this little kit here. It's a little bit of archery and broadhead maintenance kind of stuff, along with my tags and little buckles and miscellaneous in there. Then in this pouch here is my food. And as you can see, I did not bring a stove. I don't like to cook when I'm on the mountain. I want to just hunt and I want to sleep. And anybody who knows me knows that I like sleep. Sleep is a big deal to me. I don't like to get back to camp, have to heat up water, dump it into a meal, wait for it to get, hydrated, and then take the time it takes to eat it, and then finally go to bed. I don't want to do that in the morning for breakfast. I just want to roll out and go hunt. And I pretty much fast in the mornings anyway. I don't really eat until noon. And that's every day. That's here or on the mountain. I don't care for eating in the morning. But I like to try to get all my food done and eaten by like 5 o'clock while I'm hunting, so that by the time that night rolls around, I just throw up my tent and go to bed. I don't want to mess with food. And I don't want to carry a stove if I don't need to. So on this hunt, I did not bring a stove. When it's really cold and it's late in the season, I'll bring a stove just because I like the extra warmth. I can warm up my tent with it. It's got multi-use. I can heat up some apple cider Ignite in the morning, which I love. Having a hot drink in the morning or in the evening. I can do the Mountain Ops Slumber. If I'm having a little trouble sleeping, I can have a little hot tea slumber in the evening. But the days also are shorter toward the end of the season and into the winter. And so it's not as critical that I get things wrapped up and in bed because the night's longer. So I don't mind cooking a little bit because there's lots of hours to kill. But early in September, mid-September, it's light early and it's light late, and I don't want to mess with cooking. So that's just how I roll. So this year I didn't bring a stove with me. Saved me on the weight, saved me on the time. So I'll just open the bag here. Here is a typical day's worth of food. This is what I took with me on this trip. Everybody's different, by the way. You know, food-wise, you take what you like to eat. And my goal is I want to get a certain amount of protein, fats, and carbs throughout the day, certain grams, and overall calorie intake. So, around 2,500 to 3,000 calories is kind of what I'm taking on a 5-day hunt per day. And if it's a little deficient, I'm okay. I'll survive. I'll replace those calories when I get back. So that's kind of how I do it. I'm looking for 150 grams of protein a day. Maybe, 200 to 250 grams of carbs and 150 grams of fat or something like that. I can't remember the fat. I have to look it up exactly, but been somewhere around, like I said, 2,500 calories to 3,000. So in this bag, I have sardines, a little can of sardines. I love sardines. These are in olive oil. I get them in water, whatever. But I like sardines. And these are skin on, but I think they're boneless. You can get these at Costco. But I like fishy sardines. And typically with the sardines, I like to have, I bring these right here, which are Milton's Craft Baker crackers. They're the crispy sea salt. And I have these with the sardines, and I couple that with a little bit of cheese. I like these Baby L cheeses. And so I'll kind of have that as a meal. The cheese, the crackers, and the sardines. And that's what my Sea to Summit spoon is for. Typically is just for the sardines. And or a tuna packet. I'll bring a tuna packet, but it doesn't quite have as much fat and oil in it as the sardines. And then I have my beef jerky or turkey jerky or elk jerky or whatever I've brought in a bag here too. I like these half pops that you get at REI. They're just like kind of half popped popcorn. They don't smash, like chips or crackers or real popcorn. And I'll just snack on these. I like having something crunchy. That's where I'd love these as well. I'll bring a couple of these. Like I just like to munch on those crackers. Green bellies. I brought these green belly meals. This one's dark chocolate banana. I like the peanut butter and apricot. These are supposed to be they're like a Mountain House, but in a bar that you don't have to cook. So in terms of the meal provides 1/3 of your daily nutrition. So, they basically have it 1/3 of the calories are made up of fat, 1/3 protein, 1/3 carbohydrates. And I don't think the ratios are perfect. Maybe fewer carbs, but on the mountain doing as much hiking, we did 10 miles a day, 9 to 10 miles every day of hiking and climbing. And, this right here was a great meal. I drink a lot of water with it because it's just a bar that's dehydrated. But check out these Green Belly. Like I said, I like the dark chocolate and banana. I like the this other one, which is the apricot peanut butter. I love peanut butter, so brought those. And then my other go-to, absolutely favorite item is Perfect peanut butter bars. I eat these. I just love these. I'm addicted to them. These have 17 grams of protein in them. Nice fats. Good little bar. They stay unrefrigerated for. They're supposed to be refrigerated, but they can be unrefrigerated for something like enjoy 1 week on the go, so they can be unrefrigerated for a week and still maintain high levels of nutritional value. So I like this cranberry crunch one. I like the chocolate ones, whatever, but I like these. Eat those every day, 2 bars a day. I like these honey stingers with vitamin C, little gummies. And these ones are like organic tapioca syrup, organic sugar. It's like it's straight up sugar in gels, but they're, as far as they go, they're pretty much healthy, fairly healthy natural ingredients. But I just love these kind of gummy when I'm hiking up a trail and I want a treat. Another fruit flavored organic kind of, it's just straight up sugar, gummy sugar snack. And then I bring a couple of these like fruit, dried fruit. What do they call these? Like, it's like an apple worth of fruit. It's just fruit leather. Yeah. And I just get these at Costco, and they're just like a fruit leather. That's just some more sugar. And then I take Pedialyte. I like the electrolytes, and I like the taste of Pedialyte. These are just a knockoff version, like a Kroger or a Smith's brand. And then I bring a couple of Ignite packets and mix those up. Usually have 2 in each bag, along with a couple of Pedialyte electrolytes. And then I'll bring the Nun tablets, which I got these, or Noon, or however you say them. And I'll mix those up in my water bottle. Basically, I throw in a lot of electrolytes and flavor enhancers into my water. So that's kind of a Ziploc that contains a day's worth of food and calories that I need to consume. Some of them are a little different than others, but like these 2 bags are pretty much made up of the same thing. This one has like 3 peanut butter bars in it instead of 2. Doesn't have the corn pops, but half pops, but it has some other stuff. So that'll get me through a couple of days, maybe even 2.5 to 3 days. Sometimes, like, we went up there one day and I literally just didn't eat hardly anything that day. We were just into elk, running, moving, and that night I ate a bar and went to bed. So that day I kind of just didn't eat. And that happens. And then other days, I feel like I'm eating 2 bags at once. And that's okay. If I'm craving it, I will. And I'll go hungry on the latter half of the hunt, or maybe the last day, rather than hungry, skipping. If I'm feeling deficient, I'm going to eat. I'll tap into the next day's bag. So, I bring these Mountain Ops Biotics. I like these. These are their gut bacteria probiotic. I find if I take 2 or 3 of these a day, it's just incredible. It helps me stay regular. They work. And this one has a 6 billion count of 14 different probiotic bacteria strains. It improves digestive health, gut lining, and all that. And anyway, it's super easy to take. I take 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, 1 in the evening. I try to take 3 a day, and it keeps me super regular, and I feel good. So I bring those, and then I have in here this little pill bottle. You get it at like REI, and in there I have fish oil, the 1 milligram big fish oil tablets or capsules. I get them from like Costco, just straight up fish oil. It works for me. I'll use some other different krill, various fish oil products. Get one that you like that works for you. I take like 3 grams, 3 of these horse pills, a day. And then, the calcium, I take this Schiff, calcium, magnesium, calcium, vitamin D, blend, Schiff brand, calcium liquid gel. And I just find it just, I hear a lot of guys my age complain about joint health and knee pain and all, and I have none. I know when I don't take my fish oil and I don't take this, the calcium supplement, I get stiff and sore knees. I don't recover quickly. So for me, this is gold. And so I bring enough for 5 or 6 days, and that's in this pouch here. And then I have a little prescription drug. Sometimes I get cold sores just from the heat and the sun and the exertion and the stress and all that. It's something I have had since birth. Most of my siblings have it too. We're just kind of plagued with it. And so when the weather turns gnarly, I can just get a fever blister. That is a nightmare up there. So I have a prescription. I think it's Valtrex. I'm not sure. I have that in here. If I feel a cold sore coming on, I'll just pop one of those. And, I haven't had one in years. I mean, a couple of years now. It used to be something I got every season, every couple of months during hunting season. And it's like, I haven't actually had to I use those for maybe one season. And then after that, they just stopped coming. So every now and then I'll have a flare up, but it used to be all the time, but I don't know what it does, but it seems to have improved my immunity toward it because I rarely get them now. But nevertheless, I bring them just in case. And then I bring liquid ibuprofen or Advil, the gel caps, I mean. And I'm not a huge fan of ibuprofen. I don't like to take it. I pretty much avoid it at all costs. I think you're much better off using fish oil and anti-inflammatory foods and lots of water and stuff like that. Get your nutrition right and you shouldn't really need it. But there are times where maybe I have, like in BC, where I sprained my ankle really bad, packing my mountain goat out, just snapped it, and it swelled up instantly. This huge, and no one's going to carry me out. Like, I just got to hike out. That's the only way out. And and so just slamming some ibuprofen, some Advil in that moment, and getting the pain down to an easier level, and just hiking out on that sore ankle is sometimes needed. So sometimes I keep this in my possibles pouch because I don't really use it very often. Normally that's where it's at, so I'll just slip it in there now. But so anyway, that is that. And then, like I said, the fish oil and the calcium. And then Cameron Haynes turned me on to these. These are salt caps. I get them at Amazon. These salt caps are they have like calcium, some magnesium, and some different minerals and salts that your body needs. And theory, I'm getting some of that from the Nun tablets, and I'm getting some of it from the Pedialyte and all of that, staying like hydrated with those electrolytes. But I can lose a lot of salt from my system. It's kind of, our family's like that genetically. I mean, there's people who don't, but we really require a lot of salt. My whole family does. And so these salt caps, when I really sweat and I go through a lot of exertion, taking a couple of these after each like heavy, intense exercise really helps me keep that water in my system. Really helps me keeps me from cramping and things like that. So that is my food setup. I love the food I'm eating. It may not be something you're into. I can't stand trail mix. If I have to eat peanuts and chocolate again, I want to kill someone. I can't stand it. They're not for me. Other people love trail mix. Ben loves trail mix. It's like, that's what he looks forward to the most in his bag of treats. I'm not an oatmeal guy, although I will eat it, but like I said, I don't want to cook it. So for me, a peanut butter bar in the morning, a couple of them, it's perfect. It's, green belly in the afternoon, sardines and, whatever, Milton crackers. It's all kind of, perfect for what I like to have. This is just what I took this time. I'll mix it up with other things, on another trip. But I keep all my foods right here in this extra large Kifaru pouch bag here. And then what I do is, this is my bag and has all my food in it. After my tent is set up, all my food is each is in a gallon Ziploc. once my food is all set up, I set the food in the corner of my tent, and I kind of go through my inventory of my food and blah, 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 and I empty this Kifaru stuff sack right here, this bigger one, and then I take my Kelvin Light jacket right here, and I stuff it into this puffy jacket into this Kifaru stuff sack, and for me, it's the perfect pillow. And you can see right here, then I sleep on that like a baby. And that's kind of my pillow setup. So, and then in the morning, I take the jacket back out, and it only takes me a few minutes. I stuff all the food back in, dude, and I'm ready to go. That's my system. It only takes me a few minutes. The way I load it is I put my lightest stuff at the bottom, so my sleeping bag, my pad. I throw my game bags in here. Then I'm in here with my hats and gloves or whatever else, possibles, batteries, extra batteries. Then I throw my food in here, and that's all done. Then I throw my sleeping bag or my tent in the side here, and I'm pretty much packed and ready to go in a few minutes. Just the time it takes to take down my tent, and then and we usually hike with everything. When it's sub 35 pounds of gear, I really don't need to hunt without it. It's easy for me to just have everything on my back while I'm hunting. It's not a burden that's too heavy. And then if I kill something, I can quickly, or if I just want to stop for the day, anywhere I feel like it, I can just stop and everything I need is on my back. So I know a lot of guys who carry 35 pounds for just a day hike. If you get your gear dialed right, you can carry everything you need for days. So the food in here, I'd have to add a little more weight to this setup if I'm running different food. For example, I'd have to add a little more weight if I'm staying longer, more days. For example, if I'm out for 5 days, it's a little less than 2 pounds a day for food for me. So you're looking at, roughly, right there, it's like 2.5, it's like 4 or 5 pounds. So another 2.5 days is another 5 pounds of food. So that's the deal with the food. And, anyway, lastly, we should go over the bow setup here. Okay. Oh, the other thing is a water bladder. You can bring like a platypus is lighter. I'll use this Camelback in cold conditions where the water can freeze. This keeps it insulated and it doesn't sweat in my bag. So this Camelback goes on cold weather hunts, and the platypus goes on the warmer weather hunts. I don't really use it unless we were high altitude and we really didn't have enough water. And so there was a few times where we had to pack water. Otherwise, I'll just fill up my Nalgene as we cross rivers and when we come across water throughout the day. But in an area where it's really arid and dry and there's not enough water, you pretty much need a water bladder. So on the bow, okay, I like this bow sling, Sitka's bow sling. I think it's absolutely legit. It's probably the best one on the market right now. John Barklow, I believe, designed it, and he did a bang up job. It's got these little pouches on the bow here. I got this one upside down. The bow sling comes together so easy. It just goes over the cams like this. It's adjustable depending on the bow that you have. It can accommodate these large cams like what I've got on this RX1. Okay. And then what's super cool, you can adjust it here. But when I was riding horses with my bow for example, in British Columbia, you sling your bow around your chest because it's kind of one of the only ways to carry it. And then if something goes wrong, you can kind of bail. If you strap it to your horse, it's a good chance it can just get smashed to pieces. And then with that, you're going through trees and brush, and you don't want to smash your pins on your sight. And so having this little pouch is genius, which is just attached to the bow here, and it just encapsulates your sight housing and protects it. And then over here, this little pouch right here covers your fletchings on your arrows, keeps the snow off, keeps it from freezing, getting crap on them. Also, when you lose one arrow come out of the quiver, you might have one pop loose for some reason, but it's still kind of held in place because it's in the pouch wrapped up with the rest. So you're less likely to lose a shaft. But as you can see, I've got the fletchings covered here, and I've got the sight covered here, all with these little attachments that come on the bow. And then you can tighten the cam right here by pulling this little thing here, and you can tighten the fit around the cam. And then, it's just a sling. Throw it over your shoulder. You can adjust the length of it for whatever you're doing, and it's pretty cool. So I keep it on there to protect the cam, protect the arrow. Don't want to bust a fletching or a knock or whatever as I'm hunting. Okay, so that's kind of the bow sling, and then on the bow on this trip, I love my Garmin Zero. I love that sight, but it's not legal to use it's not legal to use in Colorado. It's not legal in Montana or Idaho, the Dakotas, or the Northwest, Oregon and Washington. But I can use it in Utah, as far as I know, Wyoming. I can use it in Texas. I can use it in Oklahoma. I can use it in Arizona. So I have a number of places I plan to hunt where I can use that sight. But the one thing that it doesn't have is a slider for longer range shots. I can get the pin out to 90. I think on this bow, I might be able to get out to 100. So, meantime though, what I've got is the black gold 3-pin on here. I like that sight. It's got the sight tape. I can shoot out to 120 with this. The other thing, I went ahead and I hiked in. I used this hot rods, AAE hot rods with the gripper, and this is the stabilizer system, the Western system. It's got this back bar on it in the front, and it just balances perfect for me. I come to full draw. It's ready to go. Shooting long range, which I've done more and more of, especially with TAC and other, events I've done, shooting long range and practicing and getting better as an archer. I have just found that the stabilizer system is worth the wait for me. So this bow weighs 8 pounds like this. It's not super light, but it's got 7 arrows in the quiver. I'm running the Valkyrie system here. They're Black Eagle X Impact arrows with the Valkyrie broadheads. Brent Hahn built these for me. I shot that buck in Montana. Yeah, thanks, Brent. Shot that buck in Montana using this arrow. This is the exact arrow. Still got blood on it. Arrow shaft, arrow broadhead, everything is just deadly sharp. It went 92 yards, hit the deer, entered, broke rib, went through the whole body cavity, and then went through the bone on the offside leg up high where it's the thickest, and just shattered it to pieces, and then went another 10 yards or so past the deer and buried itself in the dirt. It's a heavy FOC, like 20% plus on the front, 200 grain head, a 505 grain arrow. It cuts the wind. It's just performing incredibly well. It's incredible. I love this system. I love this tight spot quiver. It allows me to carry 7 arrows. And when I'm in the backcountry, you just don't know what's going to happen. We might want to shoot a grouse or a wolf or a bear or something like that in some of these areas where we have the ability to do that. And then you never know, like with an animal, what might happen. I just want to have plenty of arrows. And so I like this 7 arrow setup. And then, that's kind of the system. I have a, I have this Prophecy, arrow rest from AAE. It's performing well for me. It took me a while to get this thing tuned so it's just right, but I've knock tuned every single arrow. I know that the broadhead arrow combination, that they're all flying exactly perfect because I've shot them all into the target and then I've sharpened them afterward. And so it's nice to have that, to know that actual arrow you're going to shoot is flying exactly right for you. And I don't have to worry about broadhead flight or anything like that. So anyway, that's the bow setup. And, I think that covers kind of everything that I've been using. I did I let Ben use my Garmin Rhino. And I like that GPS unit. Especially if there's 2 rhinos and there's radios and you can use radios to communicate. I didn't bring one because of the weight. I did bring my phone. And my phone will last about 3 days on airplane mode, using it on a limited basis. I brought it. I can text through it with the inReach, and then I can use the onX Maps. And the onX Maps are pretty sweet to use. And then if I want to, I could bring a charger for my phone. I did not bring one, though, on this trip because I didn't want the weight. And I figured I could just conserve it for a few days, my phone's battery, which I did. My phone does have a Mophie case on it, right here it's just an iPhone, but it has, this Mophie case that powers my phone. And so I really dig this case. So with this external battery case and my phone at full charge, it lasted for 4 days of backpacking. And we used it throughout the days to, like I said, to do a little Instagram story, a little bit of onX Map, a little bit of navigation, and then texting home and stuff like that. So that's the setup. So if you've got questions, send them my way. And I'd be happy to answer them. DM me on Instagram. That's usually where I'm good about getting back to people. If you hit me up on Facebook or even email, I'm a little behind on that. Some things that are going on that I want to tell you about. I have a podcast. Hope you guys checked it out. I really enjoyed that last podcast I did with Ryan Bassham and Rocket Ryan, the rodeo clown. From that mule deer hunt we went on. I enjoyed the podcast I did with John Barklow, where we talked about the Sitka Apex system, another kind of gear oriented show. Both of those were in Montana like last week. And, I really enjoyed both those shows. So if you missed those, they're worth checking out. I think you should tune into those. Just did one with my cousin Ben, and then, we just recapped, our trip to elk hunt and our elk hunt camp with my friend Chris Conacher. Check that one out. We just kind of recapped the hunt and what it was like. Chris has never hunted before. We worked together in the white collar, business world for 10 years or so. And then, he always kind of thought about it. He's British and, just kind of grew up, just not exposed to this lifestyle, pretty much anti-hunting. And now come full circle, he's got a bow and he's out there trying to shoot, elk with me. I was super impressed with what he was able to do. He talks about his training, what he did to ramp up for it. He's a little intimidated by the whole thing, but he just manned up and he did it. And I was super impressed with how he did. That's a great podcast. Open season, we've come to a close on that, and we have kind of sent out all the prizes. Some of the stuff is on back order, cause our partners don't have it in stock. So we're getting some of those things sent out. We're getting sizes for some people that got gear that requires a certain size. But I just want to thank everybody who participated and left comments on all the YouTube videos and that followed along and was part of our open season. And excited to do that again. We're going to do a couple more of those open season events over this next year. Got a lot of cool video that I still have yet to share. Hard drives full of it. So we'll get that out. And please go and sign up for the newsletter at briancall.com. We're going to start sending out a newsletter either every other week or weekly. And hopefully that way we can kind of have a more personal touch, keep in touch with all of you that are following along and kind of let you know what the shows are recently so you can see if you really want to tune into them or not, what videos we've posted so you don't miss any. And then we're getting Gritty Gear, and some products here coming soon that I think you guys will really like. And, that's kind of the update. I'm heading to, British Columbia. I'm going elk hunting again tomorrow. And then I go to British Columbia with John Barklow, some of the guys from Sitka, for a couple of weeks in October, with Dustin Rowe from Backcountry and Beyond, Backcountry BC and beyond. And, he's got the outfitter place up there. We're going to go for goat and caribou and moose, do some archery, maybe some rifle as well. Should be a really epic adventure. Keith is coming with me. He's going to film that adventure, and we're going to tell a cool story. And hopefully, it's a pretty cool experience for people to follow along with. So that's kind of it for now. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, stay gritty. Despite our ever-changing, ever-indignant world with its growing ignorance of and indifference to the ways of the wild, I remain a predator, pitying those who revel in artificiality and synthetic success while regarding me and my kind as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood. I stalk a real world of dark wood and tall grass stirred by a restless wind blowing across sunlit water and beneath star-strewn sky. And on those occasions when I choose to kill, to claim some small part of nature's bounty for my own, I do so by choice, quickly, with the learned efficiency of a skilled hunter. Further, in my heart and mind, I know the truth and make no apologies for my actions or my place in time. Others around me may opt to eat only plants, nuts, and fruits. Still others may employ faceless strangers to procure their meats, their leather, their feathers, and all those niceties and necessities of life. Such is their right, of course, and I wish them well. All I ask in return is no one begrudge me, and all of us who may answer the primordial stirrings within our hunter souls, my right to do some of these things myself. What you just heard is a quote from M.R. James. We truly live in a world that is largely ignorant and indifferent to the ways of the wild. And although some regard us as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood, we have the opportunity to change the way these people view the hunter and the hunt. We can share our experiences and nature's bounty with those who employ these faceless strangers. And by so doing, we make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for the wild animals in the wild places we care so deeply about. Never stop sharing your passion for hunting and the outdoors. Our wild animals and our wild places depend on it.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowman.
Gritty Bowman.